Okay, now it is my pleasure okay, all right, we are ready. Okay, it's my pleasure, friends, to introduce to you my own mentor coach. Okay, I would always tell him that he is the reason why I am with ITD for 15 years. Oh my goodness. It's 1.5 decades long. He is the world's #1 coach for strategic innovation, awarded by Dr. Marshall Goldsmith. The first time I met him, with I know he doesn't have a book yet to his name, but now, oh my goodness, I cannot even count. Okay, the first Asian to co-author books with Jack Canfield, Brian Tracy, William Rothwell, Marshall Goldsmith, and more, and many of you, those who have gone through his sessions. I would often tell people, I don't like to go after him. Such dynamism, such power. Friends, let's give a warm welcome to our President and CEO of ITD World, Dr. Peter Chee. Come on, all panelists, please unmute and let's give some...
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Yeah. Happy day. I'm so excited to be with all of you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sarah Lee. Sarah Lee is one of our top international master trainers and executive director in ITD World. We also have Guy Rouse. Thank you so much for joining us in this panel here. You will hear from Guy Rouse tomorrow, who is the CEO of Siemens Power. Thank you so much, Guy, for joining us. Thank you, everyone. There's 216 and more upcoming, more people joining in. I'm so excited. You know, today I'm so excited to go all out to learn from everyone and to learn from each other, and also to be able to network, connect, and learn from the top coaching gurus in the world. I have only one intention today, and my intention today is to add maximum value to all of you. If you're excited to learn, type in the chat box and tell me yes. Just type in yes, tell me you're excited, because I'm very excited. I'm going to leave no stone unturned to give my best to you. I have 1 hour and I'm going to talk for about 45 to 50 minutes, and then I'll open for some questions. Now I'm going to set my timer for 1 hour, so I'll keep to my time. Sarah Lee, you are the session chairwoman. So I have 1 hour, all right, in total. And then after that, I'll hand over to our next speaker, which will be John Mattone. So we are kind of like 10 minutes behind time, but we will catch up. No worries. So it's really so exciting. Now, after this session, right, you can still ask me questions. If you ask question on LinkedIn to me, then I will give you my contact number. If you don't already have it, you can call me and I can answer more questions. So it's not going to end after 1 hour, okay? I'm sure you have more things that you would like to ask me. So I'll give as much opportunity as I can within the time that we have. Right, so now in this current challenging times during the pandemic, here I have now crafted what is called now Disruptive Coaching 4.0 for game-changing results. Those of you who are in the events last year, you remember Disruptive Coaching for game-changing results in the VUCA world. This time, it is Disruptive Coaching 4.0. In other words, it has pivoted to where it is today. Through the past 12 months, we have seen many iterations of disruptive coaching, and today I'm here to share with you the 5Fs model. So this is a model. I'm going to review it to you part by part. If you take a look at it, the picture will tell you, right? Some people say picture is worth 1,000 words, right? So if you look at a picture, what does it tell you? You guess it, because there are 5Fs, Disruptive Coaching 4.0, to be able to positively disrupt, right? To be able to get game-changing results for yourself, your team, your organization. You apply the 5Fs model of what I'm going to be talking about today. So I'm going to be doing some assessments which will help you create some awareness, so you know where your strengths, where your areas for improvement, but also you know where your priorities are. So we'll be doing some assessments, and then at the end of today, I will be giving out also prizes if you can be the first one to guess what is the 5F. Now, I'm not telling you what is the 5Fs, but you see there are 5 circles there, right? We're going to fill up the 5 circles eventually. Once you learn this all, the 5Fs. So you're going to get coaching tools. You're going to get tools that you can take away, you can apply right away. Right after today, you can apply. I'll be giving you techniques. All right, I'll be sharing with you case stories of my coaching encounters with leaders. Now, if I have permission to share their real stories with their names, I will certainly do. If I don't, I will still share the real stories, but with different names, with different contexts, so that their confidentiality will be maintained. Now, I will also be sharing with you some cases of organizations that have gone through hypergrowth in the last 6 to 12 months during this pandemic period. How have they managed the hypergrowth? And what are some of the best practice and secrets we can learn from some of these mega successful organizations over the last 6 to 12 months? They have been able to be resilient and continue on the hypergrowth journey. So I'll be sharing all of that with you, but also bear in mind, at the end of our summit, you will receive the handouts. So there'll be a lot more tools and materials. All those things that I'm talking about here today, you will receive the handouts. If you like any of the slides, feel free to take a picture of it, right? If you like the assessments, take a picture, because later on, you'll be able to quickly refer back to it on your phone, okay? So that's really fine with me. And as I mentioned to you, you will receive all the handouts, okay? So now, if anyone already want to guess what is the 5 Fs, okay, you can go ahead and guess what is the 5 Fs. If you can guess the 5 Fs, you type in the chat box. If you're the first person to guess it, I will give you my latest book, 5 Levels of Mastery, that I've just co-authored with Marshall Goldsmith, okay? You can guess what is the 5 Fs. Later, I'll go back to the chat box and I'll look at it, all right? So you will get the book, 5 Levels of Mastery. Okay, so now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to optimize this. Now I'm going to play this video, and as I play this video, I ask you to listen very carefully and then tell me, what F is this? See if you can guess it. If you can guess it, say it out loud or type in the chat box, okay? Sarah Lee, take a look at the chat box, see if anyone guessed this, okay? Are you ready? Watch this.
Okay, okay, there's one who said focus.
Very good. Very good. Well done. Let's give a big hand.
Congratulations, Mira. Mira is one. Focus.
Very good. Well done. So you got the first F. There you go. The first F is focus. Now, let me give you the best practices and at the same time do an assessment. See where you are, see where you stand in terms of focus, okay? There are top 3 areas, okay? Top 3 areas in best practice of focus. First F. Now, do an assessment of how important you think this is, as I explained to you one by one very quickly, on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 will be the most important, okay? You can use your phone and take a snapshot of this, get a sheet of paper, write down your score so you know how important this is to you. And then after that, write down your competence, 1 to 10. How good are you in this particular best practice, okay? How good are you? If your team members were to assess you, what score would they give you, right? Do a realistic assessment of yourself. How good are you? And then identify the gap. What is the gap? All right? Are you ready? Tell me you are ready. If you're ready, raise your hand or type in the chat box, say that you are ready. Very good. Let's do the assessment right now. The first one, clarity. To be able to focus, practice the first F, you have to have clarity. Now, do this 5 minutes test. If your coach were to sit down and ask you, or a good friend were to ask you, what are your values? What is your greatest talent and passion? What value do you add to others around you? What is the greatest value that you add? What's your vision in your life and your career? What goals do you have? What would be your goals for the future? What strategies do you have to achieve your goals? What tactics would you employ in order to achieve your strategies and the goals that you aim for? What are the habits that you would practice that's aligned with your values, your talent, your vision? Now, if you can answer this within 5 minutes, if somebody were to ask you these type of questions, then you have great clarity. All right, go ahead, put in the score of importance. How important do you think this is in your life, in your success? And then put in how good you are, and then identify what your gap is. Now, let's go on to the second one. Prioritize. Now, obviously, prioritize your efforts and resources on the top 20% of the most important solutions that delivers 80% of results. So in other words, if you take a goal, are you able to pinpoint if you have 10 solutions or you have 10 actions to achieve your goal? Are you able to pinpoint the top 2 most important ones that will lead to 80% of the results? Again, this is Pareto's 80-20 principle. Are you able to prioritize to identify the top 20% in all the different things that you do and the goals that you pursue? Now, how important is that for you to be able to focus on your top priorities? Go ahead, give yourself the score, importance and competence, and identify your gap. Now, the third best practice is really simplify. Simplify, defocus. What are the things to eliminate and reduce so that you can emphasize on the areas which are less important. You can reduce the emphasis. You can increase emphasis on what is more important. All right. Now, these days, I noticed during this pandemic and economic crisis globally, a lot of people are very stressed and, they try to do everything and, they are overwhelmed with too many things and information and inputs coming from all angles. And obviously, They have many leaders that are coached even at senior level, at CEO level. They may not be able to have the sense of clarity now, and they lack the prioritization and simplicity in their life. So therefore, they are very, very overwhelmed and stressed. One of those things you find in best practice number 3 is to be able to say yes to great and say no to 1,000 things. This is an interesting quote from Steve Jobs himself, right? Say no to 1,000 things. That is to eliminate, to reduce what is really not necessary, what is not important. To simplify your life, simplify your work, your processes, your systems. How good are you at that? How competent are you, and what's your gap? All right, very good. So I believe by now you will have your score. Please feel free to share that with me later on, because once you know this, once you have awareness and you accept that there are areas for you to improve, then transformation can happen. So this is usually the initial step in the coaching process. Now, let me give you an example here. Okay, I have coaching examples of different leaders. So now, Sunny Kim from Korea is a country head of an IT technology company. Look at him. When we did the assessment, he's pretty clear. He knows about his values, his goals, strategies. He's pretty clear. But then he's very, very stressed and overwhelmed. He has issues, the company downsizing, laying off, 1,001 things coming on his plate. His boss is unhappy with him. He's not able to sleep well, and he's really stressed. So you can see his level of competence in terms of prioritization is only at 5. So he has a gap, right? So simplify also, he has a gap of 5. His importance is 9. So when you look at it, he's actually in a very complicated web of things that's going on right now. So he has these gaps. Now, based on this, then I look at the coaching process. I introduce powerful coaching questions and some tools and techniques to help him through. Now, I'm going to go through some of these with you. The most important tool and technique that I've learned and discovered, I've shared in the coaching with a lot of leaders. It has made a tremendous difference in their life. So here, this is one of them. In a book that I wrote with Brian Tracy, all right, I've had a chance to learn from Brian Tracy, one of my great role models and gurus about, he's the foremost authority on time and productivity excellence. I had an opportunity to write a book with him called 12 Disciplines of Leadership Excellence, in which we identified 12 C's of great global leaders. And one of them, my friends, is called concentration. Concentration, that leaders are able to apply the power of focus and use their time wisely. So is there a best practice? Is there a tool? Is there a way that we can help people to be able to achieve this? The answer is definitely yes. So I want to introduce you a tool. This is called the A to E focus tool. Now, most leaders who are not scoring high in terms of clarity and focus and simplicity, this tool is obviously a great help. In fact, it is the best that I've seen. I've worked with Brian Tracy. We have experimented and tested and coached many leaders using this tool. Now, this is how it looks like. Let me share with you. All right, so it's called A to E tool because you use this for your daily planning. You plan your day one day before, all right? And you list out all the things that you plan to do the next day, and then you categorize them under A, B, C, D, and E. So something that has an A is a top priority. It's most important value add and outcome for you. And if you have many A's, you want to further segregate, you can always put it as a A1, A2, A3, top 3 priorities for the day. And then the B is part of your duties and roles. And it's also things that you should do. And C is usually things that you normally do out of habit. It's nice to do, and you do it, but it has very little consequence or significance to your future, your success, and the results you produce. And then D will be tasks that you will delegate to other people who have different talents and passions, who have different roles, who could support you. And E would be to eliminate. So something miraculously happens when you do this. You will be able to look at the A's each day and prepare for the next day, so that when you start the day, you will have a head start over everyone else. And very soon you will rise up to be among one of the top most productive people in your organization or in your role, because you focus on eating the biggest frog every day. Now, why is that so? This is so because we tend to procrastinate on the things that are more challenging and they are more important. Most people tend to go to the nice to do and should do. And at the end, they procrastinate on things that are top priorities. Now, what we would recommend that you do is that you will do the B's later on, only when you finish the A's. And in the C's, you will look at moving them to E, because later you will realize that some of them you actually don't need to do. So you will eliminate them out. And then you will also move some of the B and C's to the D when you see there's a D. And when we start to coach leaders, we find that they are not really delegating. They're really taking on too much and getting overwhelmed, and they're not empowering their people. And that's where the issue is also. So we take the case of Sonny Kim. So when he applied this tool, he started to have calm and peace of mind. He was able to sleep better. He was able to understand what his boss's expectations, what are the top priorities he needs to do during this pandemic time, and how to turn around the business. And so it helped bring back calm and peace and more manageable stress to him. His effectiveness went up. Now, look at this. This is again coming from Brian Tracy, very important point. He says that if you start and stop, a task several times, you can increase the amount of time to complete it by as much as 500%. So this is why we recommend that if you have an A1 task, you block time and you focus on it without distractions, without multitasking. Because if you start doing something and you stop doing it, if you're trying to solve a technical problem or you're trying to write an article, if you have a lot of distractions coming in, at the end of the day, you will take up to 5 times more time to finish it in terms of the time spent. And at the end, you find that you are really, really not as productive as you should be. So obviously focusing on the A1 is really important. And then this is another very important, powerful quote from Brian Tracy. I've learned so much from him. He has really helped me change my life. Look at what he said. There is never enough time to do everything, but there's always enough time to do the most important things. There you go. So if you focus on the most important things, your productivity will increase and you will have enough time. Because what you want to do, you want to procrastinate on the less important things. And if you will, simplify and eliminate them. Say no to 1,000 things that are not critical or important. Now, this is a focus coaching tool. Let me throw these questions to you and you can take it away with you and you can use it to coach yourself or even your team members. All right, these are some of the questions that I asked Sonny Kim. Simple and yet profound questions, right? First, I want to understand what is his most important game-changing breakthrough goal. So once he stated it, he has said that he needs to increase his bottom line profit by 100% because, it's been really affected and, business has been down. It's very difficult time. So he has a goal, committed his KPI to his shareholders and stakeholders that he needs to achieve that goal. So we talk about it and then we make sure that the goal is very clear and focused. And then from there, we move on to the second question. Now, let me also ask you this question. If you already know what your most compelling game-changing breakthrough goal is, then write it down. Now, the second question. What are the top 20% of the solutions? Would you list down those solutions and identify the top 20% of the most important tasks or solutions that will lead you to achieving your breakthrough goal? And the third very great question in coaching would be, what would you simplify? Think about it carefully. Reflect on your own for a moment. What do you need to simplify in your work, in your life? What do you need to eliminate or reduce so that you can open up time for you to focus on what's more important? So that sums up the 3 key questions in this focus coaching tool that I share with you today. All right. So in each of the F's, I will be giving you assessment. I'll be giving you coaching tools. If you put them all together, you would have like 15 assessment questions. You would have 15 powerful coaching questions that make up a great tool that you can take away and apply. Now, so here it is. Sonny Kim, look at that. After months and months of coaching and changing his habit, his stress reduced. He was able to focus on understanding the expectations of the business and his stakeholders, and his costs increased. He was able to simplify his own life, and he was able to manage priorities, delegate, eliminate what was not necessary. And at the end, after 12 months, interestingly, he exceeded his targets. Yeah. So what happens is his bottom line profits went up by 300%. So this is really amazing. When you apply the right focus using the right tools, you can begin to see results because he focused on what was most important to give him results on what was a top priority for him and the organization and the team. And so there was very clear power of simplicity and power of focus. All right, very good. So now let's move on. Before I go to the second F, I want to share with you a quick case. This is a case of Canva. Those of you who are not aware, you might want to test out this app. This is a very, very interesting story that I want to share with you because Melanie Perkins, CEO, young founder of Canva, it's an app, all right? So what happens is this. She was a teacher. She was teaching people how to do design using the software, right? Born in Perth, in Western Australia. And, she realized one thing, there is so much pain for people who want to learn how to do design using those design software. She discovered a pain point and she thought to herself, there must be a better way. Why is it taking so much time? Why is it so difficult to teach them how to use a design software? So when she identified that, then she focused. She first created a system to help schools create very easily and quickly create their yearbook. And it became massively successful in many, many countries and schools all over the world. And soon she discovered and realized that she needed to focus on doing something in this area where she could make a significant difference. So there, she had focus on the very clear mission that everyone can create beautiful designs easily and quickly. And so that became the power of focus and simplicity for Canva. And then you can see today their success. 150 million users, 15 million active users. Over the year of 2019 to 2020, they have almost doubled their value from 3 billion to now 6 billion worth. They are worth 6 billion now, Canva app. So Forbes identified her as one of the richest young entrepreneurs under 30. So if you look at this case very carefully, you see simplicity, you see focus, and you see quickly she's able to provide solutions to address customers' significant, huge pain points, where most people want to come up with beautiful designs, whether be it posts on social medias or whatever, name cards or brochures or products or even websites. People just want to be able to create beautiful designs easily and quickly. And the app is just able to do that. And so this is one great example, which I think if you study very carefully, you will see the practice of the different apps. So let me move now to the second one. Okay, so I'm gonna play out this video and ask you to tell me, what do you see here? All right, and tell me what is the second F. All right, if you can say what is the second F, type in the chat box or raise your hand. Okay, look at this very carefully.
Peter, they know already.
You know already. Very good. So this is
fast.
You are fast. That is great. So fast. So this is focus, the first F. Second F is fast. Now, you don't need to be fast on everything. You want to be fast on the most important things that matters most. So once you have clarity, you have focus, you want to be able to go on speed, right? So this is where this is second F that's really important. So let's do a real quick few assessment questions here. I'm going to share with you my own example. These are my scores. I invite you to give your own scores. This is myself in the past, right? Once upon a time, I had this issue. I was not fast enough, right? So you can see what my issues are here. I'm very transparent in sharing my own scores with you. These are not the current ones. These are the ones from the past, okay? So you ask yourself, on the first best practice of fast, how do you score? How important is it and how do you score? Number one, let go of perfection and resistance to change. Strive for speed and excellence. Now, how do you do on this? Guy, thank you for coming, Guy. Nice to see you. So how do you do on letting go of perfections and resistance to change? What is your score? What is your gap, right? Look, I had an area for improvement here. That's why a coach still needs a coach. I had a coach. I had many coaches. You see that, right? Now, number two, very important. You want to be fast on something that is important. You want to be able to be fast in terms of value delivered to clients rapidly by asking great questions, experimenting and innovating. Now, are you able to be fast in doing that? Because if you're fast in adding value, then that is going to bring value back to you and your organization and your team and your family. So how fast are you in adding value to customers? Number three, inflections. Now, inflections being created, predicted, and leveraged to get to hyper growth. Look at that, right? Now, earlier when I gave you the case of Canva, now Melanie Perkins, she already saw a possible inflection that people all over the world are going to use the app. They're going to need the app because it's such a pain to design using the traditional design apps. She wanted to be able to people all over the world to create beautiful designs easily and quickly. So she saw that, she created the inflection. That's why you see Canva has multiplied in terms of their growth and value. Yes, she's able to see it, predict it, and create it to make it happen. So let me ask you, are you able to create inflections, whatever solutions, products, or services you want to offer to your clients? Or even if you are an internal, you have internal clients, if you are an internal leader serving internal clients, how can you create solutions that will really catch really rapid growth for your people within your organization. That's also what we call internal inflection. And inflection is a point where you get into very rapid growth, right? Hyper growth. All right, so go ahead, put your scores there. All right, very good. So now these were my scores. And so how did I overcome it, right? How did I overcome it? Right, let me share with you my own example and story, and you will see. I've also done it myself. I've also helped a lot of clients and a lot of people that I've trained and coached, okay? Very good. So now you put on your score and see how you're doing, all right? Let's look here. Okay. Now, before I show you what else is being done, look at this interesting quote by the founder and executive chairman of World Economic Forum. This is really interesting. I got this quote from one of my team members, Brandon, when he said, hey, it's the fast fish which eats the slow fish, right? In this new world, it's not the big fish that eats the small fish, it's the fast fish which eats the slow fish. So when I got this quote stuck to my mind, I keep on telling myself, I cannot be a slow fish, because if I'm a slow fish, I will be eaten, right? I will be finished. So I have to speed up. So this really struck me and made me change and think that, I can't be striving for perfection. I can't be resistant to change and thinking that I'm already good enough or I'm the best. I have to embrace speed and make the change quickly. So this is really interesting. And this picture really struck me, right? When I look at this picture, when you look at it, right? Yesterday and today, right? So fast fish that eats the slow fish. Even the fast fish can eventually eat the other fishes, and the big fishes have no more fish to eat and they cannot survive. So look at that, right? Who would have known that a small fish, right, someone who was a teacher in Perth suddenly create an app and then overtake all other competitors? Who would have imagined that they are able to focus and be really fast? So that's really, really, you see a lot of great examples, especially in our technology-driven world today. So here you are. I've given you now a coaching tool. You can use this, okay? So here, I use this a lot for myself and for those that I coach. This is called the FAST coaching tool. 3 great questions for you to take away with, okay? Let me ask you these questions, okay? Sarah Lee, Guy, and all the rest of you, think about it. Contemplate, think about this. First question, what can you do to let go of perfection? What will help you to let go of perfection, overcome resistance to change, and achieve excellence and results speedily? What can you do? Thank you, Sarah Lee. Nice to see you. Now, how can you accelerate? How can you accelerate delivery of value to clients? By more rapidly asking great questions. If you ask great questions, you will uncover the pain points and the needs of your clients. And then how would you accelerate experimenting and innovating with solutions, right? That could really win rapidly. And then third question. Now, this is a tough question to answer. I would recommend, if you find it difficult, you sit down with your team and you sit down with other people, put all your diverse ideas and brains together. This is a great one. See how you can answer this question. Is worth your time. Number 3, what would you do to create, predict, and leverage on inflection points to get to hyper growth? This is really important, because later you will hear from Guy Rouse, CEO of Siemens Power. He will talk about jumping the S-curve, right? How to really jump to your next S-curve and go to exponential growth. So one of those things is to really be able to get yourself to the inflection point. Because when you get to that point, you are all smiles and excited, because that is a point where you see hyper growth happening. So how do you do that, right? So think about it. These are really great questions for you to contemplate and think about. The answers, I'm sure if you look for it, you will find them. All right? Okay, so this is a great tool. Let me share this tool with you. This is what I call the speed value creation and delivery. Okay, SVCD tool. SVCD tool is a really awesome tool. I've done it with so many key leaders, CEOs, and C-level leaders. They have really, really made a change when they saw this tool. Just asking 3 really simple questions. The first one is, what is the most important value that you add? And who do you add that value to? All right. And then the second question would be, how can you accelerate and multiply that value? If you know the value that you add that's most important and to whom, how can you multiply and accelerate on that? Now, that again is a very tough question to answer, but if you think about it and you reflect, you contemplate long enough, all those answers will come to you. And when you discover it, you have to then focus on it. And when will you deliver? When will you do it? When will you make that value happen? Now, I have asked these questions to myself many times, right? Because my coach asked me, and I'm not with my coach all the time, so regularly on a weekly basis, I ask. So this is my example, okay? I have many examples. I'll just give you one. So one of the things I do is that I add value to leaders. I coach executives. So my example would be the value that most important value that I add would be, coaching to ensure habit change and impact on results for executives. So if this is the value I add, then I ask myself, what would be those 3 things I can do that I can accelerate the results with my clients so that they can change their habits and achieve the results they want? And how can I do that with more people? So there you go, my answers. These are the top three. This one, number one, I learned from Marshall Goldsmith. This is one of my biggest takeaway in my partnership and co-authoring with Marshall Goldsmith. I've seen he applied this himself. He asks himself a question every day. So I coach executives, and I help them to ask this critical question that they will ask themselves every day. Because if they keep doing that, if they have a tool to rate themselves, eventually they will be able to make that transformation and change. And the second one is weekly motivation and follow-up call. Sometimes even more than weekly, right? I think Kairos can vouch for that. Whenever, he and I in a coaching session, if he has great needs, sometimes I even do kind of almost on a daily basis, right? Motivational messages and texts and follow-ups, things like that. So all these things that I do help my client to accelerate their transformation and strong accountability partner. Now, sometimes clients do need someone in their workplace or in their life to be a strong partner to keep on supporting them to ensure that they actually do make the change in their habit. And I've seen very strong accountability partners. I've seen leaders, for example, ask their teams to be accountability partner, right? So I had, for example, Venu, for example, who is a chief of health and safety, and then he asked his team members, "Hey, what is my greatest strength?" They say, "Wow, you're very good. You listen very well. What is my greatest area for improvement?" They all looked at each other and they smiled and said, "You ask great questions, but you never listen." So being the chief, he realized himself, he asked his team members to be his accountability partner. He said, every time if I ask great questions and I don't listen, just do like this. Give me a sign language and I will laugh out loud and I will change my habit. I will stop and I will say, okay, I'll listen. So he actually used strong accountability partner from his team to actually transform himself and habits. So here, these are just examples for you. So you think about your own crucial role where you add the most value in whatever career, whatever job you're in. You need to identify how you can actually accelerate that value and how you can multiply that. Now, I have one more. I'm not going to spend much time into it, but one of those things that for me, the greatest value I add is to be able to disseminate coaching knowledge and competencies to as many people as I can to the world. And one of the ways I'm working on, and me and my team have been working on, is actually to create a coaching app that, that's going to be something really outstanding, something that's going to really change the world of coaching and multiply value to people all over the world so that everyone can coach freely and be able to be competent to coach and be coached. So that is another area which I'm focusing on, and definitely, being aware of this is really so important. Okay, so think about your own answers to these questions and be very clear about it so that you can actually speed up the value that you create and add to people around you. And so this is what happened to me, right? So interestingly enough, after being aware, after assessing, after applying the right mindset and thinking and changing my own habits and using the right tools and coaching questions, I have been able to change. Now, it's not perfect. It's much better than ever before. I'm able to let go of perfection, right? I'm able to move a lot faster. Even especially during this pandemic time in the last 6 months, I can say that we have actually doubled the speed of our digital transformation. So there's been a lot of driving forces helping me to actually change my habits, be a lot faster, so that I will not be a slow fish and eaten by the fast fish. So there you go. This is the second F. All right. So now, this one, let me give you an interesting case, okay? Before I go on to the third F. Now, this is a case of Canva, all right? Sorry, this is Top Glove. I already covered the case of Canva. Now, Top Glove is really interesting. You see that globe there, right? World's largest rubber glove manufacturer. It's a Malaysian organization. How did they manage to get to world's #1? Can you imagine that? They are really, really super fast. If you look at this organization, they have expanded at a pace where they have multiplied on the speed of expansion. They have been able to really be super fast in meeting customers' requirements all over the world, and they outdo their competitors, and they are also fast in acquiring new research and technologies to be able to produce better quality at faster speed. So with all of these, you can find that this has enabled with speed, right? With really fast pace of really, really delivering on results and value to clients, they are able to reach to the level where they have, been able to outbeat their competitors to be #1 in the world. One of those other things you find that they're really good at is that they were able to actually predict the inflection point. They were prepared for it, whilst other competitors, they just went into it and they were scrambling to see how they can supply. But then Top Glove already prepared. They already knew inflection point is coming. They already projected it. And there you go, their preparation really paid off because they were prepared to capitalize on the opportunities we all know, right? Over the past months, the amount of rubber glove is just, shot over, over the roof, way over the top. And if you look at their numbers, today they have 50 factories and they're already preparing to expand to 5,000 factories. And, if you look at their peak of their year-on-year quarterly results, their revenues have increased over 300%. Their profits increased 1,800%. Can you imagine that? Revenue of 7.2 billion and a profit of 1.8 billion. So this is the result of not only one person, leadership team and organization that focuses and goes really fast in capturing market opportunities, in really riding on the inflection that has happened. So this is a really interesting case of Top Glove. Okay, so now let me go on to the next one. Look at this and tell me what it is. Now this one might be a little bit more challenging for you, but think about it. Let me play this and you watch and tell me what you think this is. Type on the chat box if you know what this is, okay? I'll say it out loud, okay? If anyone can get this. Watch.
We have free, flexible, freedom, fly. Okay.
Wow.
Fetch.
So who is the one who said flexible?
Okay, quite a number of them, Peter. Flexible it is.
Well
All
done.
right, I will search.
Yes, thank you very much. Give you a big hand for getting the right answer. Yes, the third one is flexible. Yes, indeed so. So let's look at it this way. If you focus, right? If you focus on the right things, on the most important things, and if you go fast on them, you really need to stay flexible. And why is that so? Because things may not turn out as we expect. We are in a world of rapid change. Things change very quickly. So we might be focused on the most important things and going fast, but then things suddenly change and we have to be flexible in order to be able to adapt. And if we get off track, we have to again be flexible to be able to get back on track and very quickly focus on those things that we need to focus and then speed up again. So you can see focus, fast, flexible. All right. So let me give you an example here. If you look at Mr. Tung, we did an assessment of his team. So he's a CEO of one of the top consulting companies in Vietnam. So look at him. What happened to him? When he did the assessment, he found that, wow, look at that, question 1. Now, as I share with you this, you do your own assessment, okay? Because it's very important for you to know where you stand in terms of flexibility, right? First one, adapt consciously and prepare contingencies and scenario plans to face a dynamic environment. Wow. So do you have that? Are you able to adapt? Do you have contingencies? Do you have scenario planning when you look into the future? Do you have that? How good are you in that? Put in your score. Okay. Very good. Number 2, agility. Agility for observing what's going on outside, of learning, of continuously pivoting, not only in critical survival areas, but also in vital growth areas. So these two are very important because you need to juggle both. Why is that so? Because when I look at leaders, if they are only focusing on critical survival areas, they might be able to survive, but then they miss out the future. They are not able to move to growth. And there are still those who focus mainly on vital growth, but in present moment, they are in very difficult situations. Some of them are not able to survive. So the key thing is that agility, to be able to look at the sweet spot where it's something that you do, that you focus on, will enable you to not only survive, but move to vital growth. So again, that agility to be able to see that, to spot it and know it, and the balance between the two. Again, you see Mr. Tung and his team are not doing very well there. There's a gap of 5. You can see that, right? And number 3 is flexibility also has a lot to do with diversity, being able to utilize different expertise and strengths. Not only expertise within Mr. Tung's own team, but then teams that are outside, other teams in other organizations, partners, right? Organizations, vendors, and so on, right? Experts, external, who can come in to support together to be able to help his team and organization really create innovation and competitive advantage. Again, you can see this is where he scores the lowest, right? So go ahead, think about your own score, all right? Think about your own score. How do you score, right? Where is your strength? Where is your weak point here in terms of flexibility? Think about it very carefully, okay? Good. Now, this is something I really like. right? This quote really rings in my mind over and over again. I think a lot of people who heard this, they were also struck by this in a sense. Look at this, so beautifully said. Michael McGriffey, blessed are the flexible, for they shall not be bent out of shape. So let me ask you, are you out of shape? Are you in good shape? Well, if you're not flexible, you're not going to be in good shape, for sure, right? Because you're not able to adapt to the challenges and the current changing conditions. So here, let me give you the powerful questions. See, you can actually put together all these questions and they all make up a really, really great tool that you can use to coach yourself and your team, okay? So here are another 3 questions you can add to your collection in your toolkit. This is called Agility and Scenario Planning Coaching Tool. Look at this. Wow, this is nice, right? Those strategic thinkers, they really love this tool. Look at number 1, right? More and more leaders, one of the areas for improvement that they frequently find in their 360 assessment is the need to be more strategic. Right, look at question 1. What are the different scenarios you may face and what can you prepare contingencies to achieving your game-changing goal? Right, so do you have that? Now answer this question, take it with you because this is very important, right? We are living in a very, very dynamic VUCA world. So we really do need this, right? Are you prepared? Number 2, what would you do to stay agile, to observe, learn, and continuously pivot in critical survival and vital growth areas? So are you just operating on current critical survival, but are you able to focus also on areas that are vital for your future growth? Are you able to observe what's going on outside and learn and be able to continuously make improvements? How can you do that? Number 3, another great question. How would you synergize diverse strengths and expertise for innovation and competitive advantage? So there you go, 3 great questions for you on agility and scenario planning. Take it and use it, and I'm sure you can discuss with your coach, right? Or you be the coach and coach your team with these great questions that will really be very helpful to help you to actually be able to be more flexible, be more adaptable, to thrive under very dynamic changing conditions. All right, so look at Mr. Tung, what happened, right? After asking these questions, after keeping in their mind that he and his team need to be flexible, look at what happened, right? The scores went up, and what did he do? Well, he sat down with his coach, and then he began to coach his team, and then they came up with scenario plans. They came up with contingencies, different possibilities, right? And they know now how to really adapt if things change very quickly. They know how to adapt. And they now not only focus on survival areas, they have a weekly session where they are addressing critical, vital growth areas, weekly sessions coming together as a team and then coaching each other among peers to focus on their vital growth areas which are going to be necessary, is going to be post-COVID growth. So preparing themselves to embrace that new normal and that growth is something that they have been doing, and they're doing much better than before. And now they begin to see people with different ideas and different strengths and different backgrounds and different color and creed all coming together, being able to create a synergy. They begin to realize that they welcome diverse ideas to help them to be more creative and think about how they can synergize those. All right. Now, look at this case of Zoom. I'm sure many of you already know, right? So if you look at a case of Zoom, it's really interesting. It started in 2011, and now you look at how they have gone to hyper growth. You look at that. The value of Zoom is now 40.5 billion. Right? And look at the inflection point of Zoom. Look at the inflection point from 10 million users to 200 million to 300 million, right? Zoom has made it possible to have our session today, right? So if you look at them, what else do you see? What qualities do you see in Zoom? Do you see focus? Do you see the first F? Guy Rouse, do you see that? Sarah Lee? The rest of you? Najib?
Yes,
you see?
Peter. Yep.
So what do you see? You see
flexible
that?
Also, right?
Flexible. Why is that flexible? What can you use Zoom for? Well, Zoom has been used as a communication platform, right? We use it for webinars, we use it for meetings. Right now, we use it for workshops, e-certifications, we even do e-coaching, all of that using Zoom. So the flexible application is definitely a great advantage. But not only that, they were flexible in adapting to all kinds of challenges that came to them, right? As they go through rapid growth, there are so many challenges. They were able to adapt and fix all those issues and attacks and kind of concerns about security. They were able to address them very quickly and very flexibly. But not only that, one more thing very important, the first F, focus. Do you see that? if you study the Zoom case very carefully, they are very, very focused. They focus, number one, top priority, and their main time is really resources put in to create excellent customer experience. So you will know that there's no other competitor or platform rivals them in terms of customer experience. And that's why today we're also using it, right? And so many of us are using it every day. Why? Because it just delivers better customer experience. And that is their main focus. They don't really go out chasing after customers. They create the best customer experience. That's their focus, right? If you look back at the earlier case I mentioned to you about Canva, what was Canva's focus? Canva's focus is identify the customer's most significant pain point and help them to address and overcome that pain point to create beautiful designs quickly and easily. That is their focus. Now you see that power of focus, you see that power of simplicity in all of these different cases. All right. So now I'm going to go to the next F. Okay. All right. Very good. Now see if who can get this one, the next F right now. Watch carefully and say it out. If you get it.
They're saying fun, 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 fun. Friend, fun, fun, fun.
You're getting wild.
Fun, fun, fun. You got
friendly,
it.
Friendly, friendly also. Okay.
Yes, friendly, yes, fun, yes. Fun and joy. Very good. Now, so if you focus, right, if you really focus, you know what's most important, what's top priority, and focus to keep things simple and powerful. And if you are fast on those right areas and you are flexible to adapt and keep pivoting and finding those inflection points, and now if you have fun, then you have higher motivation to do it. You have higher engagement. You have more satisfied team of people, talent working together. So that F now again, it strengthens and complements all the other F. Can you imagine if you're focused and fast and flexible and you're really putting it all out and you are tired and stressed and you're burnt out and you're not enjoying what you're doing, you're not having fun and joy. Can you imagine how life is like? Can you even imagine that, right? So this is why this element of the fun is just so important. All right. Now, let's go into some of the best practices. Now, go ahead, rate yourself. This is Angela's team. So Angela, let me give you an example. She's a HR chief of a multinational power company. They're based in Indonesia. Look at what happened to Angela when she scored with her team, right? You can see here. Positively embracing humor, fun, and creativity and work and life. They almost totally forgot about it. They were just being stressed out every day, having Zoom meetings day to night, and there was not much fun. There was not much enjoyment and creativity put into the fun. So there was something really missing there, right? You can see there's a gap of 6. And then passion to do more of what you love and love what you do. Do they actually look at for people in terms of what their passions are and give them projects and roles aligned with their passion? And when they're actually doing the job itself, do people look at the positive side of the work they're doing and the meaning behind it so that they can learn how to have a positive attitude towards their work? Again, the assessment shows that it's not, right? Okay, so how about number 3? Number 3. Well, that's not too bad. They just have a gap of 1. They are constantly networking and connecting with people. They can see what's going on outside, recognize patterns and associations, and so that's fine. They're able to discover how they can, embrace technologies and how they can improve their work. That's fine. But then if you look at it here, on number 1 and number 2 is where there are major areas for improvement, there are major gap. So that's where that's missing, right? Okay, so one of those things that they looked at is this fish philosophy, and a lot of organizations still do this, and it's still popular. In fact, the last 2 days we had fish philosophy workshop for a Japanese client of ours, Ajinomoto. Even today, yeah, I think Nuchari, you are here, right? I saw your name. So fish philosophy is still popular. Why? Because they discovered from the Pike Palace Fish Market, who became the most famous market in the world, and people go there because why? These people are really enjoying, and people love to go there because it's fun. They are throwing and playing with the fish, and it just made them more successful and well known. It's so happy, engaging workplace. So fish philosophy is such, right? If you bring in the fun, you increase the engagement and the joy of working, productivity starts to increase, things get better. So this is a really nice, interesting philosophy. Think about it. Angela and her team started to introduce all these different initiatives and programs and trainings and books and learnings. People started to see more of the fun of what they're doing. And And they also put this very nice quote of Mahatma Gandhi. He said like this, so look at him, right? He has got a humorous character and face. He said, if I had no sense of humor, I would have long ago committed suicide. This is so relevant because when we look at people during this kind of pandemic and crisis, yeah, a lot of people are going through a lot of difficulties and troubles, companies closing down, losing their jobs and things like that. Mahatma Gandhi would just kind of laugh at himself and laugh at the situation and survive through it. And, interestingly enough, one day when he was riding on a train, he was on a third-class train, and one of the journalists interviewed him and said, hey, why are you riding on a third-class train? He smiled and he said, well, I'm not on the first-class train, but I'm riding on the third-class train because there is no fourth class. And everybody just laughed. And, it's just so funny. He just laughed at himself. He just loves to crack jokes. That's how he survived through all the difficulties and adversities. And of course, Angela and his team, they really like this quote from Obama, and I do like it myself too. They have put it up there and constantly remind people over and over again. When you look at a person like Obama, who was president of the United States of America during that time, holding a most responsible, biggest, role as the most powerful nation in the world as being the president, look at what he said about himself. Look at what he said. He said, part of the way you survive is the stress of the White House is to be able to laugh at your team, laugh with your team. It's about this crazy stuff, and what did he say? You have to take your responsibility seriously, but you have to be able to laugh at yourself, first and foremost, in order to make this manageable, the whole thing. So look at just what he said, right? So laugh with your team, laugh at yourself. So, this is something that he was able to practice, and that helped him through holding, the most responsible position, one of the most responsible positions in the world, Barack Obama. So these are some of the benefits. So if you bring in the fun and you have laughter, even if you have, games, introduce gamifications into your meetings and your workshops and your group coachings and all of that, that's what we always do when we have sessions with different organizations. We bring in all of these. The benefits are amazing, right? Fun, joy, and beneficial to health. If you have more laughter, you can see, right? It increases oxygen level in the blood, reduces stress, increases blood flow, releases good hormones, increases your immunity. So that is why, that fun and laughter and gamification is really, really very, very uplifting and very helpful to human well-being. So remember that, the fourth F. All right, very good. So Angela and her team, so what they did, they started to transform, right? They changed the culture. They begin to put in all these different initiatives of fun, not only workshops and materials. They started to, in their meetings, they started to talk about what they're grateful for. They started to appreciate more of the good things and count their blessings. And they created gamifications in the way how they work with each other. And one of those things that they liked, when I shared the book by a friend of mine called Scott Friedman, he wrote a book where he said GPS. Now, do all of you know what GPS stands for? You know what GPS? Yes, Sarah Lee, guy? What is GPS? Well, with Scott Friedman, GPS is gratitude, play, and surprise. So when he brought in this concept, I really liked it, and I introduced to some of the organizations, and they took it. So they started to have more gratitude in their work every day. They started to play more, enjoy. They brought in fish philosophy. They even went to Bhutan to study why was it that they're one of the happiest countries in the world. They realized that Bhutan measured not only gross national product, they measure gross national happiness, GNH. So they started to look at things that make people happy and enjoy what they do, and so they introduced that into the workplace. So people started to have more passion. They started to assess people for their strengths and passions and allow them to volunteer for certain projects that will help them utilize more of their passions. And, the whole attitude started to turn positive, and, the entire culture just improved. And I would say they survived well through the crisis, and they're resilient, and they just keep getting stronger. All right, so this is the final one, and then I'm going to open for question and answers. I have still about only 9 minutes left, so I'm going to just go really quick on this one, okay? And then I'll open for some question and answers, okay? So watch this one and tell me if you can figure out what is the last F. Okay, go ahead.
Fearless.
Wow, this is great. You all are doing so good, right? I'm so impressed. You already know. Very good. So the key is that then how well are you doing in each of these best practices? And then once you're aware, how do you actually make those improvements and close those gaps and really focus on your strengths? So let me just give you a few, and then I'll just open up to question and answers, okay? So what we'll do is we have Aaron and Brandon here and Sarah Lee and the rest of you. If you have questions to ask, you can type in the chat box and that will be shared with me, or you can raise your hand and we will unmute you to allow you to ask questions, okay? So we will have about like 8 minutes or so still to take some questions. And so here are some of the areas, right? Believe strongly in your team, in yourself, and pursue that unifying, compelling mission. That belief, that faith that you have in you will help you to be fearless and strong in the face of challenges and adversities and your darkest hours. Equipped with the right techniques of maximizing power of heart, mind, body, and spirit. How important is that? If you know those techniques, when you face stress, when you face fear, when you face challenges and adversities and crisis, you can use those techniques to regain your strength in your mind, heart, body, and spirit, and that will help you conquer and deal with your fear. And finally, the most powerful among all of that is number 3, to anchor on immense love for your family, for your team, for your community, and help you win over challenges. How important is that to help you have the courage to do what it takes to be able to not only survive, but to thrive? So in the end, I would say there remains faith, hope, and love. And among all of these, the greatest is love. So my friends, there you go. With that power of love, it will help you to have the courage and the strength to do what it takes to be able to win, to be able to overcome adversities, to be able to, deliver the best for your loved ones and people that you love and your country and the world. Thank you all so much. I'm going to open for question and answer right now. And let me just share this with you.
Hey. Guy, you can unmute, Guy. Okay.
All right. Here, these are the 5 F's. Okay. So what you do is you ask yourself a question every day, right? Did I do my best to focus? This is a daily active question, right? Did I do my best to be fast? Did I do my best to be flexible? Every day ask yourself that question and you will change your habits. Did I do my best to have fun, to laugh, to enjoy my life? Did I do my best to be fearless, to be able to be courageous to do what it needs to be done? So thank you all, everybody. We still have some time for questions. As I promised to you, you will have the handouts of all the entire presentation today. And not only that, you can still type into your LinkedIn groups where you can ask questions, and I will give you my number and I will answer your question personally to you. Okay? So go ahead.
Okay. Peter, there's a lot of thank you and yes, we love tigers now, Peter. Some of them are suggesting that could be a next book. Or yeah.
Go ahead. Any question? Yeah. Guy Ross, do you have any questions? Did you see any questions from anyone? Yeah. Anyone? Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Some of the questions, Peter, they didn't put in the Q&A, right? So yeah. So they're all like just thank you, Peter. Yeah,
yes,
a lot of appreciation.
You can raise your hands if you have any questions.
Oh, okay. Here is one, Peter, from Rick Ivanovich. Question.
Yes,
if
Rick.
you have a 6th F, what would it be?
That is good. I think I like the word faith. I think faith is important. Your faith will take you far. So if I had a 6th F, I would go with faith. Yes.
Right.
For me, yeah, faith is just so important. Faith can move mountains. Yep. It is faith that also could get people doing the wrong things. I'm not saying that we should, some people have faith so much that they believe in something that they're able to, they even become suicide bombers. But then I'm not suggesting that, but I'm saying that if you have faith in the right positive direction, I think it can be absolutely powerful. There will be 2 more F's which I'll share with you after before I end. Okay, I have 1 more case to share with you, and then I have 2 more F's. But if you ask me personally, Rick, thank you for the question. I will go for faith.
Awesome.
Please go ahead. You can actually raise your hand, and we can unmute you, and you can come in and ask a question. Go ahead. If you have a question, go ahead.
Okay. While we're waiting, Peter, there's a lot of affirmation about people saying yes, faith. Others are saying feelings. Okay. Thank you, Nelson. Right. And
if you raise your hand, go ahead. Raise your hand, and then Brandon will let you in. Yeah, go ahead. Raise your hand. We'll let you come in. You can ask. Anyone else?
Mark, you want to raise your hand? Okay. I volunteered someone, right? All right. It says he'll put faith at the center of the model. Peter. Yeah, it is.
Hello, John. Nice to see you, John.
John is here already.
John Mattone. Wow. Nice to see you.
Hi, Peter.
I'm just about to finish because we started like about 10 minutes late. So we're going to be at about 4 more minutes to go. And then we'll be
Take your time.
Thank you, John.
Hello, Sarah Lee. How you doing?
Awesome. Okay.
All right. So
Very
anyone has a question, you can raise your hand and then we can unmute you and you can ask, or we can even put you in the panelists. Okay, good. 2 participants raise hand. Go ahead. Can you unmute and allow them to ask, please? Go ahead. Right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, yes. Go ahead.
Yes.
Hello. Yes. This is Angela.
Yes,
my question is, I saw that you have doing 2 sets of assessment. First is at the beginning,
Yes.
and then after that
I
is
think you can hear me, right? Just a question came earlier from Ikaro. Ikaro was saying, because we're talking about fast, and you were talking about fast and how we need to let go and value and inflections. And Ikaro was saying it's great, but how can we make it easier? And a lot of what you said before was how we can make it easier, potentially by the part was about what you had suggested in asking yourself the question every day. But is there something more to make it easier?
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Guy. I'll just go back to Angela first. Angela, go ahead. Continue with your question just now.
Yeah. My question is, at what point do you do the second assessment? Is it a month?
Yeah, typically 3 to 6 months, Angela, because these are not easy to change habits. To be honest with you, okay.
Right.
That's a good question, Angela. You always ask good questions, yeah. Now, you see, the thing here is this, simple habits may take 3 weeks to change if you do it continuously every day, right? Like reading a book, drinking water, taking 10,000 steps. If you do it every day for 3 weeks, it can form into a habit quite quickly and easily. But changing habits, like for example, changing to be able to be more fun and, have lighter moments and enjoy some games and jokes and things like that. These habits, some people have not had it for a long time. They take months, typically up to 3 months to change those habits. So it has to be continuously practiced, and typically we will do it after 3 to 6 months. Yeah, Angela?
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thanks for your question. And thank you, Rick, too, for your question. And back to the question, Guy, that was asked just now. Guy, how to make it easier? Is that right? Yeah. So, to be honest, these things are never easier. The only way you can make it easier is to work with a great coach and have great partners to support you, because these things are indeed tough. Because if they're easy, I think everyone would have already done it, right? Because if you look at all of these cases I've talked to you about, right, from Canva to Top Glove to Zoom, right, all these cases and all these examples I've given you about the people I've coached, they have actually worked very hard for it. That, there are people who wake up at 5 a.m. and do those things they need to do to change their habits, and they really focus on their A1 top priority tasks, and then they rise up to be able to double their productivity. There are people who actually do that, and there's just a lot of effort put in and a lot of sacrifice. But obviously, the journey becomes a lot happier and easier when you have great company, you have great coaches, people to journey alongside with you. Then things get a lot easier, because no man or woman is an island. It's hard to face change on your own without the support of others. Marshall Goldsmith always says, raise your hand. Come on, every one of you, can you raise your hand? Guy Rouse and Sarah Lee, Marshall Goldsmith says, I need help, and it's okay. It's okay. So, get help, get support, and things will get easier. Get help and support from the right people. All right.
Peter, there's a lot of questions now on the Q&A.
Very good. I think I would have to take maybe 1 or 2 more questions, and then I will close.
2 more.
Over to John. And basically what I would do is, and then I will take those questions on the LinkedIn, and I would answer those questions. Okay. So maybe you can.
Or Peter, while we can also actually type the answer as well, right? So for those that will not require a long one. So for example, let me choose some of the questions that might require a bit more a heavy answer. Like, and this is the one that appeared first from Trong Thilan An from Ho Chi Minh. How does IR 4.0 relate to the 5 Fs?
4.0. Now,
Industrial Revolution 4.0, right?
Right. That's a good point. This is not designed based on Industrial Revolution 4.0. Although it has Disruptive Coaching 4.0, it is the 4th version of its development stage. It's continuously improving. But having said that, I would say that when we when we actually form all these 5 Fs and look at all these best practices, if you put all of them together, they're actually 15 best practices, okay? Now, when you look at all these 15 best practices, let me flash them over to you one more time. Let me go there. Okay, hang on. Okay, here it is. So if you look at all of these, right, these elements here have all been crafted, taken into consideration the future challenges and the current Industry 4.0, and particularly where it relates to disruptive innovations for the future. So if you look at it, some of these points that I've highlighted here that are in bold, in bold color, you see, for example, here, questions, experimenting, you see that? Observing, right? These are part of those qualities of those 15 best practices of disruptive coaching leaders, right? So disruptive innovators of the future to face Industry 4.0 need to be able to ask great questions, need to be able to actively experiment and observe what is going on outside, so you will be able to see those, inflection points and those external patterns. You can see them and you can adapt to them much more easily, because no one really knows what's going to happen future into Industry 4.0. So the key is observing and having the agility. And then the 2 more you can see on question 15 is actually networking, right? Networking and connecting the dots. Later on, I'm sure John Mattone will talk about it, because one of the great guys for networking and connecting the dots is the one that John coached, right? He is the one who is really outstanding in terms of seeing things that people cannot see, because he can connect the dots, he can network and connect, and he can make associations and patterns and make those discoveries. So all of these are competencies of the future. So I would say they are very relevant now, and they will be very important in Industry 4.0. Okay? So having said that, I think we should close. I don't want to take it on any further.
All your questions, we will just type in the answers, right, Peter?
One last thing I want to share with all of you is this. Please write down your key learnings for today, because in the last 1 hour, there's been a lot of inputs for you. If you were to pick even 1 or 2 or 3 key learnings and take action on it, your time here spent would have been worth it, because you will get those results. So think about it. What will be the 1 or 2 or 3 most important things you take away out of what you have learned today? And then let's just all say it out loud together, and then we will introduce John Mattone and hand over to him, okay? This is it, the 5 Fs. Okay, I'm going to point here, start from this one, right? Let's all say it out loud together, okay? John, can you say it together with us? And Guy?
Let's unmute Guy, and unmute John.
Every one of you, including Rick and Angela and everyone else. Let's say it together.
ITD folks, unmute. 1, 2.
That's ready. 1, 2, go. Focus on the vitals.
First.
Create
inflections.
Flexible to pivot to innovation. Fearless in the face of challenges. Fun on the journey to exponential growth. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Give us a big hand. Thank you. Wow. So I'll just pass on to John Mattone. Yes.